Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Scarbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. I was looking at the full moon that is occurring today. Today is the 23rd of July, and it's going to be occurring at 10:38 in tonight here on the east coast of the U.S. And I did notice that the Mars was right around the degree of Donald Trump's Mars return, Donald Trump's natal Mars. And so I was like, gee, he's having a Mars return. And right now, Mars is under some pretty intense pressure from Neptune and from Pluto and from Pallas Athena. So I said, well, maybe I'll take a look at Trump's Mars return and look at his chart. I want to look because while I don't really like necessarily talking about him, I certainly don't like hearing his voice. And quite frankly, I wish he would just disappear. The fact that he hasn't disappeared and he's still a focus, although that could be creation of the media, making it more, I don't know, bigger than it actually is, because he does sell a lot of advertising, I guess. Um, I thought he's still with us, so we obviously have some stuff to learn about from him and from his chart and from what's going on now. Astrologically, he does have his Mars in Leo. It is in the 12th house. In fact, he has Mars rising in his chart. Let's take a look. Instead of me talking about it, it'll be easier to, okay. I'm sorry, I have to just pull something up here. So this is the chart of Donald Trump. Many of you have seen this chart over and over again. He is truly an expression of his chart, so he's a good example. We know a lot about him. And he's pretty, in his way, he's pretty, what's the word? He's pretty transparent, actually. In fact, he usually just tells you everything that he's doing. And if he's not saying I'm doing it, he's saying the other person is doing it. So you can just pretty much guess that that's what he's doing. The nature of Gemini, perhaps, right? The nature of Gemini. And just as a quick review, we have somebody with a Gemini sun conjunct his North Node in Gemini, conjunct Uranus. This is really somebody who is here to disrupt. It's in the 10th house. The 10th house in a mundane chart is the house of the president. He has a South Node in Sagittarius, conjunct his moon, with the moon conjunct the South Node very closely. He was actually born on a lunar eclipse. I believe it was a blood moon, which is, excuse me, which, as I understand it, from reading a little bit about eclipses, I am by no means an expert on eclipses, but it is not considered, what's the word? It's considered a problem. It's considered a problem aspect to be born on that, on this full moon in the way that he's actually in a gibbous phase. Excuse me, I'm having a little trouble here. It's just in my own head. He's actually his sun and moon are opposite, but in a gibbous opposition, meaning that it is not quite full, it's almost full. And so this opposition has the energy of a Virgo. So there's an innate insecurity in his sense of who he is, really, which sounds kind of crazy, but it is in his chart. We have his Mercury here in Cancer. Mercury of course, is how he takes information in. And in Cancer, he would take it in through his emotional body, and especially his gut, because Cancer rules the gut. We have a Saturn-Venus conjunction in Cancer. This is somebody who doesn't really know how to have fun generally. That Saturn Venus, or it takes work to have fun. For those of you who might have this, it is a new phase conjunction. It is in Cancer, and Saturn in the water signs are probably the more difficult Saturns to work with. Um, this is a sense of, could be a sense of isolation, feeling isolated, feeling unloved, feeling unlovable. He could have also seen his mother as distant with this combination. Um, and a lot of his relationships with women are, I would say, transactional with this combination here. He has his Pluto in Leo. Here is his Mars in the 12th house. But this is the horizon. So he actually has Mars rising in his chart, as this Mars was actually rising in the sky, excuse me, when he was born. We have a lot of things in the second house. Second house is the house of money. But we do have Neptune there, so there can be disillusion and illusion around that as well. And then just sort of to round things off, he has his Pallas Athena in Capricorn. He has Ceres in Aquarius, exactly opposite his Pluto. So there's that Pluto Ceres sort of oppositional force, which is mythological, right? They were mythological. Well, they were brother and sister, and they were mythological foes, because um, uh, Pluto kidnapped Ceres' daughter Persephone. So there's a definite sort of push pull between the masculine and the feminine here, and we know that he doesn't think well of women, and he tends to attack women more often. We just saw we just heard about the people who were going to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer were actually connected to the government and to the well, to the government, and Trump was president. So we could say, we could extrapolate perhaps that that was connected to um, the Trump regime, as I call it. So this is his natal chart. Now, I wanted to look at his solar return chart, so I did pull that up. So let's take a look at that. The solar return chart is a chart of his solar year, beginning with um, his actually solar return date was June 13th. The interesting thing about that date is that um, we had a square between Saturn and Uranus. I believe it was exact on that day, on the next day, on the 14th, which would have been that's his birthday. His birthday is the 14th. He probably celebrates on the 14th. We had a Saturn-Uranus square, and Saturn-Uranus square in his solar return chart is very, very tight. Very tight. Saturn in that fifth house, that's a lack of fun. Uranus, an uncovering of money here, and other people's money. So within this chart is the possibility of something being revealed when it comes to the money, where he gets his money from. We also have Ceres here in a close conjunction to Uranus. Remember, he has Ceres opposite Pluto in his chart. So Ceres is an energy of it's being fed, being nurtured. It's a motherly energy. It's a nurturing energy. It's also associated with grief. It's also associated with grief. So this could cause a lot of grief for him. Of course, we're looking at a solar return chart, so you always have to look at where the sun sits, because It is the return of the sun. So where is his energy going to be mostly in 2021? We have him in the ninth house here. And it is conjunct Mercury. It's not unusual for the sun and Mercury to be conjunct, but Mercury is retrograde in his chart, in his solar return chart. This is significant because Mercury is the ruler of or the dispositor of his sun in Gemini, but it's also the ruler of the entire chart. If we locate it in West Palm Beach. Now, uh, full disclosure, I'm not exactly sure if he was in West Palm Beach. I don't know if he was there. I don't know if he was in New Jersey for his birthday. I did not look that up. So if he was in New Jersey, it's possible that he does not have that Virgo ascendant. But this Virgo ascendant, 30 degrees of Virgo, right? The last degree of Virgo. And Virgo really is a corrective energy. Its ruling planet is Mercury, and there's Mercury in the ninth house, but it's retrograde. So retrograde usually means a review. So there's going to be a review of his foreign, probably his foreign relationships, whether it be with Russia or whether it be with Saudi Arabia or whoever he is connected to in a connected to foreign places here. This is also the house of the Supreme Court, and it is also a house associated with justice and court systems. So we can see that he's going to be spending a lot of time or a lot of energy or a lot of his life force in that ninth house. This is also about beliefs, right? This is about beliefs. He's holding on belief against belief, perhaps that he is still in power in some way. He has his moon in the last degree of Cancer in this chart, and he has Mars at 1 degree, 20 minutes of Leo, which incidentally is right around the degree of today's full moon. The sun is there. So it is natural for something to be revealed on this full moon. And we've had a couple of revelations come forth. Mainly his one of his oldest, I guess, and dearest friends, who was part of his inauguration committee, Barack, was indicted for being a foreign agent of the EAU, the United Arab Emirates, UAE. Well, you know, those guys, the guys who wears the sheiky things, right? Is that a bad thing to say? I don't know. Anyway, so this solar return, right? A lot of the planets in his solar return are actually on the right side of the chart here, which usually indicates that this is going to be a time when he, hold on one second. I don't know what I just did. I just messed myself up. No, let's see if we can just, I'm sorry. Okay, good. Something came up on my screen. I couldn't see anything. So, okay, so this is Donald Trump's solar return. Let's take a look at Donald Trump's solar return as it sits on his natal chart. What this will show us is the kind of transits that he is undergoing right now. It'll be like just a general picture of the transits, and I think that is going to be very hopeful. Okay, let me do that here. Just give me a moment. So Trump and his solar return. So this is still Donald Trump's natal chart, and this is the day of his solar return. And we can see, of course, the sun and the sun is going to be in the same place because that's what it is. It's a solar return. Mercury here is conjunct the North Node and also Uranus. So this can be revelations. We have Venus conjunct his Mercury. Mars just moving into his 12th house here. This is interesting. He has Saturn sitting on his Ceres. Saturn tends to make things real. And I see this Ceres in Aquarius in the 8th house as his failure around COVID and the many people that died, and the fact that it created a lot of grief. And to a certain extent, he does bring out the grief for the most part. He's real good at that. Let's see what else is going on. Of course, here is the square. We have Uranus in Taurus here, Saturn in Aquarius, and this series is in the crosshairs here, and on his and in his solar return, right? In his solar return, we have, where is it here? Ceres conjunct Uranus. So we have Ceres squaring Ceres, Uranus squaring Ceres, Saturn sitting on Ceres. So Ceres becomes a big archetype here. And so, as I said, and I've been sort of looking at Ceres as an observer of Ceres, and I see when she is active, there can be death. She can be associated with death, and this is just now. I'm not saying he's going to die. I'm not saying that at all. But there is usually some sort of death associated. And of course, um, series kind of is a death and rebirth story, because it is the story of, uh, spring to summer to winter. It's a seasonal story. So it's the natural story of growth and fat and fallowness, and then growth again, right? So series is going to have those archetypes within it. Let's take a look at this Mars return now. This is his Mars return. He has his Mars return on the 24th, which is tomorrow here. It's the 23rd today. Here is his Mars, and it's in an inconjunct, right? Mars to Pallas Athena in Pisces. Pallas Athena is the goddess of social justice in Pisces, around, um, you know, uh, dealing with people who can't take care of themselves. This is the sick and the young and the infirmed Pisces. Those people. This is about compassion. And we know the only person that Donald Trump has compassion for is himself. And then we have Pluto here making an inconjunct to that Mars as well. His Mars and he has a conjunction of Mars and Venus. Remember, Mars and Venus just came together. Was that a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago, at about 20 degrees of Leo. Remember, 19 something of Leo. Now, of course, Venus moves faster than Mars, so she's moving ahead of Mars here. His Mars, right? When you have a Mars return, it depends on what where is Mars in the chart, right? Where is there going to be a lot of energy? And here we have it in the 11th house, of the media. Well, not necessarily the media, technology, the internet and such. Also Congress, right? This is the place of Congress. This is also the place of friends. And so we'll see how that works out for him. Let's take a look at this chart, and we have a Libra ascendant in this chart, which means the ruler of his Mars return chart is Venus. He has Venus in Virgo here. Virgo, we go from Virgo, this is dispositorship. We have to look at Mercury. Where is Mercury here? Mercury is at 23 degrees of Cancer. If we look at his, if we take these two charts, or if we take his chart, not these two charts, if we take his natal chart and his Mars return, and we can see we have Mars and Mars here, right? we can see how his Mars return sits on his chart. So this is really a transit for tomorrow, right? For tomorrow for him on the 24th. So what do we see here? Well, we see Mars on Mars. Of course, that's what we're looking at. We would expect to see that. Here is Mercury sitting on his Saturn, sitting on his Saturn. This, I think, is his the Trump family business right here, right? He got it from his father. It's family cancer. Here's Mercury. We're going to get some information about the Trump family business. Now, a Mars return is a 2-year cycle. So this chart influences over the next 2 years until Mars comes back to that point in this chart and he has another Mars return. We have transiting Pallas Athena sitting on his Vesta. Vesta in Pisces, what you devote yourself to is Vesta, Pisces. This in his case, I think in the 7th house here on the cusp of the 8th house, it may have something this might be a little bit of his need to focus on the fantasy, his need to focus on the fantasy. It is trine his Venus, right? So there's a lot of energy moving back and forth between those two planetary bodies, as it were. And here we have, now this is very interesting. In the day of his Mars return, we have Saturn and the Moon conjunct on the Ceres again. So Ceres gets activated again. Ceres is still being squared by Uranus, of course, because it wasn't that long ago that we had his birthday. And of course, we have Saturn again in that square to Uranus. So this Ceres again is being focused upon in this chart. Vesta is being focused upon in this chart. Saturn and Venus here. Of course, Mars and Mars. The Sun, Venus is in Virgo in that first house. This could be helpful to him. He also has Jupiter here in Pisces, and Jupiter tends to be a very lucky planet for him. So he will be with his. He'll have many detractors, but he'll also have supporters here, and it's almost a religious zealotry here. It's almost like a religious zealotry. Now, let's take a look. Well, we don't actually have to take a look. This is pretty much the new moon chart. The sun and the moon, the full moon chart, because the full moon is the day before his Mars return. So we can just extrapolate how the full moon is going to affect. It is the full moon, right? Here to the moon would be 2 here, okay? But if we see Saturn and the moon are exactly opposite his Pluto. So Saturn and the moon are actually sitting on his Pluto polarity point during this period. So it's going to be very interesting to see what these next 2 years actually holds for this man. Now, we have to remember that we have Pallas Athena and Neptune and Mars creating a yod to his Venus. Venus is the ruler of his 10th house. That's the house of the leader, right? Venus is the ruler of his 3rd house, okay? This is the lower mind. This is his neighborhood. This is his siblings, etc. So he is in for quite the year ahead. Quite the year ahead. So, what does this actually mean? What are the possibilities? What is it that we have to learn from this, right? That was the whole point of this, of looking at this chart. So let me get back to, actually, let me do this. Okay, I'm back. So what's the point? Like, what are we learning from this? What are we learning from this? Well, I think the fact that these energies, this yod that is affecting his Mars, uh, Neptune and Pluto are transpersonal planets. They sort of drive the evolution of things. And so this will not be an easy time for him. Could this be a time of his tower moment? He, in his numerology, his soul vibration is a 16-7, which is the tower card. And on the tree of life, it's associated with the solar plexus chakra, but it is also associated with Mars. Mars, the planet Mars is connected to the tower card. So in a way, his soul is connected to that Mars. And so personally, I think that he is a opportunity for us to see, there's this whole power of positive thinking thing that he does. And there's that it works, it works, but it can be dangerous. And so I think what perhaps we're learning from this particular situation is the value of intention. I think that he will be on, I think he'll be, it'll come to pass that he is not who he says he is. But I think a lot of people already know that. I think a lot of people already know that. And it's very possible that we could continue to have the same sort of dynamic, but he probably will play, and this is probably not a psychic premonition, but he will play the victim in all of this. He does have that Jupiter in the 7th house in Pisces, Venus in Virgo. It's an opposition. That axis activating his chart of me and against them sort of thing. We will see that dynamic as well. Will we ever pin him down? I'm not sure that will ever happen, but everybody in his orbit will be held accountable, I think, in large ways perhaps and in small ways. So it should be interesting to see how that happens. But the next 2 years are going to be fraught for this man. And of course, he's thinking that he wants, he thinks he has power, right? Well, he actually does have power. He has the power that people give him, right? And I just sort of wanted to point this out. I don't like to talk about him a lot because I don't really want to concentrate on him, and I don't want to give him more energy. But I think there's a lesson in it, and that's why I chose to do this. So I just thought you might be interested. I don't really know how things are going to work out. You always think like, oh my God, nobody could survive this, and he seems to do it. So again, we will have him for as long as we need to learn from him. And so what can we learn from this? We can learn that intention matters, that people matter, that justice matters, that kindness matters, and that bullying comes from just a really deep sense of self, being critical of self. Um, I'm not sure we needed to look at the chart for that, but that is what I see in the chart. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Like and subscribe if you would like me to do a reading for you. There are links below. You can contact me at my website. Have yourself a great day and a great full moon, and I will see you again tomorrow. Namaste.